So my name's Becky Banks. I work for Asist Advocacy in Staffordshire. I've been an advocate for 20 years. I currently work as Staffordshire Service Manager. And I just wanted to talk to you about a piece of advocacy that stays with me for a long time. So I'd worked with a lady, I'd worked with her a few times during generic advocacy, which was kind of before statutory advocacy. So I kind of knew her, but this is a time when I worked with her when I had a referral, and she'd been brought into hospital under a section, and she was currently not doing very well, and she was told she couldn't move back to the care home that she was at because there'd been a few incidents. So I went in as an in-heart advocate, and when I got there, the staff talked to me about that they'd found a lump on her neck and that she was holding herself like this. So I talked to her, we discussed it, and she wanted to find out what it was. She said it had been there quite a while, no one had really done anything about it. She was taken by the mental health hospital staff to the hospital, where a consultant looked at the lump in her neck and wanted to do some tests. So they took her back to do some tests, and she was quite frightened by it, and she'd actually ended up trashing the consultant's room. The consultant didn't take very kindly to that, and I was brought in then as the IMCA advocate for this lady, where we sat in a best interest meeting as to discover whether or not we were going to actually do any treatment for her, and whether or how or if we were going to do any kind of test to see what the lump was. So I sat in a meeting where a doctor, consultant who had seen her before, whose room she'd trashed, wanted to know whether, he basically said that this lady had cancer. He knew it was cancer. He'd been 20 years in the job, and he knew that's what it was, and she would never go through the treatment for this. So she said that, he said that he wasn't willing to put her through any kind of tests, because actually when they found out it was cancer, there was no treatment because she wouldn't be able to withstand it. So I sat in that meeting with lots of professionals and felt like I was actually the only person that was arguing for her. I'd spoken to her at this point about what they thought it was and what she wanted to do. She'd had treatment before, so she'd had her tonsils removed, and she dealt very well with that. That was background that I got. And also she didn't want to die. Her sister had had chemo for cancer, and she was very willing to go through that if that was the case. The consultant still said she wouldn't be able to go through the treatments. And I sat in a meeting, and they almost decided it was in her best interest that they weren't going to go ahead with any treatment or any tests. So I asked the doctor and said, so if it isn't cancer, and he kept saying, oh, it is. And I said, but if it wasn't, what else could it be? And he said it could be perhaps just a lump that might just keep growing and eventually cut off her airway. And I was absolutely horrified that no one in that room actually stood up to him. So as her advocate, I said, she doesn't want to die. She's willing to go through treatment. How can we help her to get through to that treatment? And how can we help her to go through with these tests? The consultant was still very much on the opinion that he wasn't going to do that. It was not going to happen. I also challenged him that how does he know without any tests that that's what it was, and actually you could be treating someone with a death sentence at this point, based on the fact that actually you haven't done any tests. And in the end, it was agreed that they would do some tests, and actually it wasn't cancer, and they were able to remove the lump. And I think that's the power of advocacy.